Hey, how you doing? Today, I'm going to tell you a few things that could probably save your life and make you not sick, especially if you're young, a millennial. You've got a lot of years in your life, and you really need to watch this video. Um, I'm going to tell you a couple tricks where you don't have to hire consultants. You could buy a couple gauges if you want, but I'm going to tell you how you can be much healthier in your home. First of all, the electric companies, the appliance companies, your government, and also the cell companies, your cell phone people are not going to tell you this. They do give you little small pamphlets, really hard to read. You can't even read it with a magnifying glass, but they kind of tell you the problems if you were to read that. Real quick, this photo just shows you, hey, you're going to buy a house or live in a house or rent a house. If you're under high tension wires, hey, you're asking for trouble under any type of tower. Now, if the tension wires, and we're going to give you a lot of information, so if you want to take a few notes, go for it. But high tension wires are a problem. If you're like within 500 feet, they're a real problem. If you're 1,000 feet, couple thousand feet, it's pretty much much less exposure. As far as radio towers and cell towers, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Just real quick, I got to just go over some of this. We're going to do the 4 types of radiation that you're exposed to. All of these are going to make you sick, and I'm going to tell you little tricks how not to be exposed by these, and you will be much healthier. And you'd not believe what health effects this stuff causes. Microwave radiation, basically wireless, Wi-Fi, cell towers, cordless phones. We're going to talk about smart meters, magnetic fields. We're going to talk about those. Basically power lines, improper wiring. I'm going to tell you about improper wiring, okay, in appliances. Electric fields, your bed could be making you sick. Maybe your bed also is making you have a hard time sleeping at night. We're going to tell you how to fix that. And then dirty electricity, and we're going to get into that too. And that could make you sick. It makes a lot of people sick in America. It causes a lot of problems. And real quick, here's just a little graph, and we're going to do different frequencies. So low frequencies, radio frequencies, and microwaves. And if you look at these pictures, you'll see we're going to start off with the microwaves, and we're going to start with the satellites. And these would be, like your cell phones, TV antennas, and then it's going to go down to radio. We're going to talk about how you can listen to your radio in your house because of harmonics, and we're going to tell you how to fix that, okay? And so we're going to start off with probably the first one. We're going to talk about frequencies, high frequencies. Now, obviously, if you have radio, not radio towers, but cell towers near you, you're going to have frequencies coming in your house. But the biggest one in your house that you could correct is your Wi-Fi. Your Wi-Fi just is going to make you sick. It's going to make all kind of problems with you as far as sleeping and etc. So, number one, I don't know how to fix your Wi-Fi other than turn it off at night. So, turn off the Wi-Fi at night. Okay, we're going to talk about things you could do that can save your life and make you better. Number two, when you look at your computer, another thing that puts off a lot of high frequencies, and these are called microwatts. And we'll go, you don't have to remember microwatts. We're going to talk about picocurious, all kind of stuff, but don't worry about that. Basically, I would say stay away from like cordless items as far as your mouse. Your mouse, I would change it to a wired mouse, not a wireless mouse. Those are the mouse will put off a ton. The keyboard, if it's wireless, will put off a ton. So I would say try to stay away from wireless as much as possible, and at night turn it down. Okay. Now I know you guys don't want to hear this because I know half of you people watching this got your cell phone in your back pocket. Bad idea, really bad idea. And I'm going to show you on this graph what that actually puts out. There's been all kind of studies now where cells, phones that are close to your body can hurt you lots of ways, including it can sterilize you and cause all types of problems. These things are cooking you. I would say you don't need to hold that all day long in your hand and text all day. I would say I leave mine in my car now, and every hour or so I turn it on and I keep it off. I like to keep it off. And by the way, when it's off, you can actually concentrate with your life and do everything better without being disturbed every 20 seconds. So reward yourself. Every hour, turn it on. See who messaged you, go back and turn it off again. But don't leave that thing on. Do not leave it in your pocket. And all these kids are walking around with cell phones in their pockets. Now, I'm going to go through a lot more stuff than just cell phones. So we're gonna go. So here you go. If you look at this graph, this is the high frequencies we're talking about. Guess where your cell phone's at? Up here, man. Your cell phone's up in this area. Your cell phone is way up here. Most homes are in this area. Your router is in this area generally, but you want to be way down here. Now, they do say that anything over 1, honestly, you probably don't have to test. If you want to test, I'll provide some links below of some gauges if you want to buy them. I'll also provide links that I think are important below. But, you know, if you just turn off your Wi-Fi, shut off your phone. And by the way, don't put your phone next to your bed at night. Do not leave it on if you don't have to. If you got to put it on vibrate, put it on a table where you could hear it. But you don't want that thing recharging next to your bed either. I'm going to say 10 feet away is the distance if you want to be safe from your cell phone at night while you sleep. Okay, and we talked about the high tension wires. There's different types of tension wires, and I have other videos. We're not going to get into this. Just, you know, if you're buying a house, maybe you don't buy a house underneath these things. Maybe you buy a house that's a couple thousand feet away, all right? So now we're going to get into number 2, and that's going to be called electromagnetic fields. And electromagnetic fields are these gauges like this, do EMFs, gauges like that, do EMFs. But we're going to talk about how you can just limit EMFs without a gauge. Now, if you want to buy a gauge, there are some gauges that are less expensive. I'll find it here in a second. That you can buy. I'll leave a couple links below. All right. Now, just for the number's sake, this is called milligauss, and they're telling you here that milligauss is poor in these range. You know, between 1 and 5 is severe. You know, I'm not quite sure about that because it's almost impossible not to have 1 milligauss. 1 milligauss is pretty much everywhere. In Sweden, they have laws now where you can't build schools anywhere near anything over 2 milligauss. But we're going to be talking about lots of milligauss at like hundreds and 50s that you're getting exposed to every single day. And I'm going to tell you how to limit that. So you want to minimize. This is electromagnetic fields. What we did initially were frequencies, high frequencies, mostly from cell towers. Okay. So this is what you want to do is if you do get a gauge, now this is kind of expensive one. You probably don't need this one. But you could go around the house and just see what you're getting. Just see what the levels are. And it'll tell you, you know, if you're getting high electromagnetic fields. Where you're going to get them the highest is under your street power lines and under the power lines going to your house. You know, so maybe that's not where you suntan, okay? Another place you're going to get them is at your meter. And here you can see it's 6. Now, some houses are 60, some are 100. But the real problem isn't so much the meter here. It's the wall behind the meter. You don't want to put your bed behind this thing, this meter, because you're going to be getting whacked. So put your bed on the other side of the room. So these are electromagnetic fields. Stay away from electric meters and be on the other side of the room. Now, these might be a little bit harder. If your switches are dimmer switches and they're getting hot and warm, well, guess what? They're also producing lots of problems. Harmonics, and we'll talk about that. And they're also producing EMFs. So you better find out why your switches are getting hot, okay? Now, if you want to test your electrical, then you might have to get a couple electrical testers. Here, this is the wall, and in your walls, there's splices. You know, when they build homes, and sometimes the splices are putting panels that you can't get or they're not accessible. If you want to look for them, use the electromagnetic field EMF gauge. A lot of times you could find the wiring just in the walls by using these or splices. Now, this is the wall where there was a lot of power. On the other side of this wall, there was the electrical panel, the sub panel. I'm not putting my bed on this wall, okay? Don't put your bed here. Another one, ceilings. A lot of people don't think about ceilings, but in this particular case, we found high EMFs upstairs on the bed. And then what we actually picked up in the ceiling was the ground wire. The ground wire, a lot of times, is really high, hundreds sometimes of EMFs, electromagnetic fields. And we're talking milligauss now. And so you find out where your electrical ground wire is. It's the copper, the gold one, and see where it goes underneath the floor. And it usually goes to the water meter. So whatever's above that is probably high. So maybe that's not where your futon goes. That's not where maybe you don't do your yoga right there because it's right underneath that. Okay, so check that out. Okay. Now that's your ground wire I'm showing you, and in this particular case, I'm showing you how we're actually testing this ground wire because sometimes there's electrical problems in homes, and that would be something that you could test your outlets. And you get a little electrical outlet tester. I don't have one here, but they're like $10. And if you got reverse polarities, that's where the red light comes out. Guess what? Call your electrician. You want to fix your reverse polarities. You want to fix your open grounds. You want to fix your improperly wired outlets. A lot of older homes that have newer 3-prong outlets, and if the house is from the 50s, 60s, you got 2 wires. So chances are they're wired wrong. So just right off the bat. So you check out electrical, and then you could, with the tester, you could buy it for $10, and then call your electrician. Say, hey, fix my grounding, fix my reverse polarities, fix my GFIs. Now, you don't want to sit next to. Now, this particular gauge is a really cheap one. You could buy this. This is only goes at 2 milligauss, like that chart. It says, hey, 2 is bad for you. And so don't put your chair, and don't sit next to the air conditioner. Don't sit next to any motors. Stay 4, 5, 6 feet away from them. This is showing you 2 milligauss because that's all the meter does, but it's probably like 50. All right? You don't want to be near these things. Same with dishwashers, microwaves. You want to stay pretty far away. And if you want to buy a gauge, you can. Like this gauge probably is $100. This one's like 500, 400, 400. Or you know what you do? Buy a cheap one. And share it with your neighbor. Go together on it. But you could just be smart and watch this video. Take some notes. You might not need a gauge. Refrigerator puts off a little bit. Now these are the worst. These are pretty, not the worst, but these are big offenders. These lights, these types of lights are problems with electromagnetic fields. Not so much downstairs, but here, you can get anywhere from 30, 50, 80, milligauss. The real problem is the chair that you sit in and read. And maybe you sit upstairs, you try to read your book and you never could concentrate. Maybe you fall asleep all the time watching a movie. Guess what? Go in the basement. You might have one of these lights down there. You don't want these lights. These are bad for they produce high electromagnetic fields. And you don't want to be sitting under like a doorbell transformer or any type of transformer that's on the ceiling. Make sure nothing's on the ceiling where your chair is at, where you're sitting above. All right? These transformers, this thing here, if this was on the ceiling and you had a chair above you, it'd be putting out 60 to 100 milligauss. Tons, just like that copper ground wire, okay? That's going to be putting out a ton. You don't want to be near there. Electrical panels, generally nobody sits in front of an electrical panel, but you can see how you're getting a power, okay? And then sometimes if you get a gauge, you can go out around the home and just check your appliances out just to learn, to see how far to stay away. Generally 4 feet, 5 feet, like this power outlet here. The strip cord is putting out like 20, but you're not going to put your head on it, right? But if you go 4 or 5 feet away from this thing, you're going to be fine, okay? And unplug this stuff. This one here, underneath here, was a transformer, and they had a chair here. We moved the chair. So always see where you're sitting, always see where you're sleeping, where you're laying, okay? Fans will put off a lot. And this was the gauge. Maybe, if you want to buy one of these, it only goes at 2. And you saw how that chart said anything under 2 is bad. Well, if you want to get one of these, go for it. I have a bunch of them here, and I'll provide you a link where you could buy them at $20 or something. It's not a whole lot of money. And then also, you could always, if you get one, you could check the outside and see where your kids are playing. Sometimes there's underground electrical that you don't know about, right? So check that out. So these are EMFs, electromagnetic fields. Now we're going to move on to a little bit more complicated stuff, but it's this stuff here you might need a gauge because this is stuff you can't see. This stuff will make you sick. We're going to call this number 3, and we're going to call this this is dirty electricity, okay? And dirty electricity can be caused by lots of stuff, and I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that we know causes dirty electricity, and you just get rid of this stuff or just turn the stuff off. Now this, if you look at this curve here, this is called the sine curve. It's supposed to be all nice and pretty. But when you got this is major disturbance. This is what's giving you a headache. This is what's making you sick. Fatigue. It can cause diabetes. It can kill your immune system. You don't want to be living in a house with dirty electricity. I'll show you a couple gauges. I'll put a few links below. If you want to get one. I mean, the cheapest one to get is about $130. I don't know what else. There's nothing cheaper than that. Maybe you don't need it, okay? Maybe you do some things, okay? And then this chart just shows you how dirty it is. These are all the spikes. Now I'm going to show you what causes this, okay? And And this is the gauge here. Oh, that's not a good picture of it, but I'll give you the link below. Now, this is, we're going to go back to, this used to be a sine curve. Now, this house has so much dirty electricity that there is no more sine. And I'm going to give you, I'm going to tell you a couple things. The reason you might want to gauge is because there's a few things you cannot control, okay? We can control stuff in your house, and I'm going to go over that whole list, but some homes in some areas are being delivered dirty electricity. The electric company's giving this to you, man. They're poisoning you in your own electrical wiring. And so, like this particular house I did, the woman was electrically sensitized, and the minute what we did, we actually shut all the power off in this particular house except for one circuit, and the dirty electricity, this is what we picked up. It was truly amazing. It pegged all the meters, and I'll tell you what, I'm not really sensitized to dirty electricity, but in this house, I felt weird, really weird, because it was that dirty. It messes with your body. It messes with your electrical system, messes with your mind. And so if you want to know if the electrical company is poisoning you, you can get a gauge and test a couple. Shut all the power off in your house except for one. Test it, and I'll show you the gauge to use in a minute. And I don't know how to handle this other than you put a filter in. You could put a filter in your house and stop this. This is one of the gauges you could buy, and you can see how this house is pegged. This is a lot. This is a lot of dirty electricity. This house basically had a bunch of compact fluorescent light bulbs. That causes it. It had dimmer switches. Get rid of the dimmer switches. They cause this problem. And it basically electrifies your whole basement or your whole house. All your electrical system becomes an antenna. Matter of fact, if you put, this actually was playing the radio stations, okay? It will play the AM radio stations. This house was playing AM radio stations in every single room, okay? And this house had compact fluorescent lights. You want to use the regular old light bulbs. Remember the old ones they quit making? Well, they still sell them. You want to buy those. You want to buy those. You don't want to use compact fluorescent, the squirrely ones, you know. You don't want those. You don't want to use mercury. You want to use the filament, the regular, the old light bulbs, okay? You know, the ones they're all, actually now they're doing LEDs. A lot of the LEDs causes problem too. So, you know, maybe you buy a gauge, you have your family, you know, everybody chip in the $130. Here, now, this is a dimmer switch. This is causing all kind of problems in the house. You won't see it, but it's causing damage to your body because of the harmonics, the disturbance in electricity. And not only that, this was easy because you touch it, the thing's hot. And when it's hot, that means either you got too many watts on your light or you don't have the right kind of dimmer switch. I'm going to say no dimmer switch. Okay, dimmer switches cause problems. Now, a little bit tougher, sometimes you have improper wiring in the electrical box. Okay, if you're let's say you got a big house, make sure you check the sub panel. A lot of electricians will take that sub panel and they'll take the hot and neutral and use the same bar. That screws your whole house up. That causes major disturbances in your electrical system, and your whole house becomes an antenna. All you got to do is open up the electrical box and look. Well, maybe not you, but maybe your friend or electrician. The sub panel, take this down, the sub panel. The grounds and neutrals cannot be on the same bar. Now, the main panel, they can't, because what happens is you end up causing power problems with all the electrical outlets, and the whole house becomes this antenna that's radiating pollution in your body. Now, sometimes you have improper double taps. That causes problems. Sometimes the wiring is bad. Sometimes there's loose circuit breakers. This is the infrared. I don't expect you to buy one of these, but your electrician can check this, okay? I'm going to tell you about 100 things, and about 20 of them, you know, you can't do or aren't going to do. Now, some people have these systems here. These are called low voltage systems. Some houses built like in the 60s and 70s had low voltage and relays, and a lot of these houses cause also problems with electrical, so you want to check those out. It's houses with switches like this, okay? Double taps are a problem, okay? And here's an expensive electrical tester. Now you can get one. This is $100. You don't need this one. You get a little one, Home Depot, $10. Make sure you get the one, a GFI tester, and like this one here is an open ground. So basically, you got this. This isn't really causing a problem, other than it's not grounded. But if it was a reverse polarity, that little red light would have been on, and so you want to check the reverse polarities. These are the light bulbs I just talked about. These are no good. By the way, if one of these things breaks, you've got mercury all over the place. You've got a hazmat site. Now, I'll provide you a link. Now, we're on number 3 right now, and these are filters. And there's different types, 2 companies that make them. And I'll give you a link. You can buy 4, 8. And I recommend that you first try to fix your problem. And I'm going to give you some more clues and tips how to stay healthy and how not to get sick, and how to minimize your exposure to these types of fields and this type of frequency. So these basically, you plug these in the wall, and all of a sudden it starts to clean up the dirty electricity. Now I'll put these in. They got them 4, 8. Most houses need 8, and I'll provide a link down there. You can put those all over your house if you want. They're kind of expensive, but maybe you want to buy a one of these. Okay, this is a line meter, an EMI meter. It has a cord. The cord is right here. And basically these are, I don't know, $130. I'll give you a link, and buy with a bunch of people. You only need it a couple times to test your house. This will tell you if the electric company is poisoning your family or poisoning the street. It'll also tell you if you need to clean up some of the power. And once you clean up and it's still high, then you got to have an electrician come and check the electrical box and make sure your grounds and neutrals aren't screwed up. Okay, and you can use EMF gauges also to help you. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our third one. Okay, and here's the 2 gauges. Just so you know, this is the gauge I just showed you. It only goes to 1900. You know what? If you peg it at 1900, you got problems. This thing will go actually higher. So this will read much higher. But this is enough. And, you want to, honestly, 112 is kind of high. Okay, you want to be like at 30, 40, 50, under 100 you want to be. But the houses I check are 500. Let's say it'll be 800, and I'll go through the house, and I'll find out there's 5 compact fluorescent light bulbs. I unplug them. There's a mercury light. I unplug it. All of a sudden, you're down 100. So you can go throughout the whole house and systematically lower this as you are changing light bulbs and turning things off. So now we're going to do electric fields. And I got this from, there's a lot of professionals out there. There's one up in California that's an expert on electromagnetic fields. And there's also people scattered throughout the country. There's an individual in West Virginia, and if I can get his name, I'll put it down below. And this is, I believe, from one of his companies. And this just shows you the electrical wires in the walls. And you notice how the wires in the walls are producing electric fields, okay? And so what you want to do with these fields is check your bed. Now, and this also I got from this photo. They have these charts, and this is what you want. This is your bed. You want to be at 0. This is your bed on steroids. So basically, the wiring in your room is causing electric fields. Now, some houses it's much higher, so that would be a different type of meter. That would be a voltmeter that you can get. Or I got an idea, a really simple idea. Shut the power off to the room. If you shut the power off to the room, there's no electricity traveling through it. Now, sometimes there's other electricity going through the room from other rooms, right? And so sometimes you got to go to the basement and put your little gauge. You can get a gauge. These are, I think I got one here. There we go. This is a electric field meter, and this will tell you the electric fields. So you would go, and there's different types, and I'm saying if you want to go buy them, I'll see if I can find a link for this one. They're a little more expensive. You're not going to be buying all these gauges, believe me. Okay, I think you just do some of these things. It's going to help you out. And if you're still sick, then you go to the next level. You hire a consultant wherever you're at. There's people like me all over the country that do this. Okay, so you want to have a bed that's got zero. You don't want any volts. Okay, at all. Okay, no volts at all. And so shut the power off. Okay, and while you sleep, that'll help you out. This is the type of gauge, very expensive gauge that they use. Now, you want to go in your attic. A lot of times you have improper wiring. If you could see it, this is an old house with knob and tube. And the knob and tube, they create electromagnetic fields. The Romex wires, this one, the wires are so close together they don't. But this whole thing is a problem. See, they're tapping in here. they're double tapping or improperly splicing. So there's a free ground that's not connected to anything. So this could be a problem, okay? So, the electrical system will create magnetic fields, electric fields, and dirty electricity. So electricity is really important in your house that it's done properly. This is the house where you don't have any fields. You shut the electrical off. There's no power in the bedroom. So now I think I'm going to throw one more thing at you. Nobody ever thinks about radiation, right? Now radiation is a little bit tougher, and I'll give you a couple examples here. Now this thing here, and if you see it, this thing, if you put this next to your bed, you're going to have a bunch of problems. A, you're going to have electric fields. You're not going to be able to sleep. B, you're going to have magnetic fields because it's got a motor in it. It's going to make you sick. Number 3, see those little glow in the dark things? That's uranium. This is radioactive. All right, you don't want this thing in your house if it's like 10 feet away. And this is a very expensive gauge. You're not going to buy one of these, okay? I mean, there's some cheaper versions of it, but this is $900. So I'm going to just a couple things you want to don't have these things. These little things that glow in the dark, no good, okay? Now, here's another alarm clock. Now this one has no glow in the dark stuff, but guess what? This thing, if you put this next to your bed, you're getting fried. This thing is putting like 30, 40, maybe more. Put this on the other side of the room, you'll be fine. You don't want this near your bed. Even these things put off a lot of electromagnetic fields. Don't put this next to your bed, okay? Now, these are huge. Now, you guys don't have these. Don't get these. These are cordless, all right? And this is kind of old, and that's why people like me are going to probably get sick because we use these things our whole life. And don't stay away from these cordless units. Don't try not to have anything cordless in your house because they will emit. Now, this stuff here, this stuff will blow your mind. This is actually uranium glass. This is radioactive, man. They call it uranium glass. If you use a black light, it'll glow in the dark. So if you want to go through your china cabinet, your mom's cabinet before you bring it to your house, get yourself a black light, shut the lights off, and if it glows in the dark, it's uranium. Uranium. Okay, it's okay as long as you don't put it next to your bed. This one here, I checked them. I like to collect weird things. This one here I tested. It's so high in uranium that if I put this on my chest for like 10 hours, it's like a chest x-ray. So green, all right? So you don't want any uranium, okay? Now, a couple more things, okay? Some old toys had uranium in them, nobody has old toys. Actually, nobody even does this anymore, so you guys just play with your phones and stuff, so I'm quite sure this won't be a problem. And then a lot of electrical wires, when there's improper wiring, the wires get hot. It's always a good way. Now, this one here, and I'll give you a couple cases. This is a smart meter. Smart meters aren't smart, not for you and me. They're smart for the other people. And here's how they work. You got the smart meter. It talks to an outside box. That talks to the neighbor's box, and it sees going down a line. Well, guess what? Somebody that's transmitting all the neighbors is transmitting it to another spot, which goes to the tower. That house is getting cooked. So you live in that house, you're getting cooked. And they're not going to tell you who's delivering it. So these things put out a ton. Now, I get calls from all over the country, and I do assessments, these types of assessments. And like this particular house, my client told me she burped. She couldn't understand why she burped. And I'm like, really? You burp? And so I go, where do you burp? So I always burp down here. So I went over there, and I took my gauge, and I watched the meter. And the minute the smart meter transmitted a signal to the outside box, she burped. And I got it on video. She burped. I got like timed burps. No kidding. And she told me I couldn't put it on YouTube because I guess she didn't want it on YouTube. But she burped. I did another one the other day where it wasn't this type. This is a high frequency that's transmitting. The other one was dirty electricity. My client almost fainted. Her eyes turned bloodshot red when we did this test, and she literally almost fell to the ground. That's how it affected her. So certain people are really affected. Others are not affected as much. Okay. So now let's talk about some crazy stuff. Okay. This is a bed bed manufacturing company, and we're going to check for EMFs. We're going to check for radiation, because how do you know that the bed springs aren't radioactive? You don't. So make sure whoever you buy your beds from, buy from a local person, a reputable company. Be very careful, because a lot of steel is now radioactive. I mean, there's a bunch of studs that came across Mexico into America, and these houses are radioactive because the steel is radioactive. Now, what I'm going to show you here is that the bed spring companies basically have magnetized springs, because the coil machines that feed it magnetize it. So now you are sleeping in a magnet. And this is a really expensive gauge. You don't need one of these gauges. You know what you can use? You can use, I got one here somewhere. Oh, there you go. A compass. You should have one of these anyways. This is the best, cheapest tool. Actually, it's not. This is like $60 for this thing. But if you take this thing and put it next to your bed and go around your bed, not vertically on the top, on the side, and it pulls to the north, your bed is magnetized. Your bed is magnetized. And you may want to do something about that. Okay? And I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes what you can do. So magnetized beds. And there's not a whole lot of information, because now we've already attacked the cell companies. We've totally attacked the electric companies. Now we're going to attack the bed companies, because this is the last thing they want you to know, is that their springs are either radioactive or magnetized, and this could be making you sick, or keeping you from sleeping and getting up and getting headaches. And so here I'm going through the factory. I'm trying to figure this out, And what's crazy is I figured it out that not all mattresses do it, but 60% of them are magnetized. So you might want to check it out, okay? And so that's a radiation gauge. These weren't radioactive. So here's what I did, and you could do the same. You could matter of fact, not a bad idea. And this is something most of you don't know about, and this is something how you could actually live a lot longer by doing this really simple thing. And you know what that is? Taking your shoes off. Going outside and walking on the ground and coming back in the house. Now let me tell you why I said that. Let's say you go to work and you're in your rubber shoes, and your rubber shoes keep you from grounding to the ground. And your food in America, we eat a lot of acidic. All our food's acidic. So your body's acid. So think about this. As you walk past electrical in your house, your body's picking up the voltage. It will pick it up. And your body burden voltage is increasing all day. And if you've got high electromagnetic fields, you've got high electric fields, you've got radio frequencies coming in, you've got dirty voltage, right? You've got all this going on. You've got motors going on. Your body's just cooking, and all of a sudden you become a walking battery. And when you become a walking battery, it's picking up more voltage, and now your immune system's is like going, oh, help me. And all of a sudden you catch a cold, you get sick. All kind of problems happen when your immune system's getting whacked by a body that's a battery. How do you stop the battery? Take your shoes off, walk outside. Now don't walk near your electrical panel, because that ground has stray voltage. We didn't even get into that one, right? Or ground rods that like you walking your dog. You walk your dog every morning on the sidewalks past the telephone poles. Guess what? Your dog's getting whacked. All those telephone poles have ground rods. That whole area your dog's walking on is picking this up. Maybe your dog's sick. Okay? So don't walk barefoot near areas where there's ground rods. Stay away. Like your backyard is probably not a ground rod. Just walk in your backyard. Decharge. You don't have to do it all night. Now, you can decharge a couple different ways, too. At night, when you walk at home, you're charged up and you go to bed. You don't want to be charged up while you're going to bed. Ground yourself out. Now, you could do a couple things. One, you could ground your heating duct and just touch that. You could buy a ground pad that you could step on. Now they're going to sell you these ground products that plug into the wall. Be careful. Remember, I just taught you all the electrical problems. Think about this. If you've got improper wiring with your grounds and neutrals in a sub panel, or you've got high harmonics because there's improper wiring because an open ground because your wire's not right, you're going to plug this ground into the outlet because that's what the manufacturer tells you to do. You're just going to not fry yourself, but you're not going to do anything. So you want a separate ground. So you buy yourself a little ground. Like I did a big one. This is me here. This is a ground rod, 8-footer, expensive. I cut it in half and I pound this thing into the ground. And I don't pound it near your electrical panel. Don't pound it near other ground wires from your electrical, because your electrical panel is being grounded. Don't get near that. Put it somewhere far away. Okay, so I pounded it here and I ran a ground wire. I ran a ground wire upstairs. Okay, and I ran it through my ductwork, and actually this one here, my springs were also hot. In other words, they're magnetized. So I built the Faraday cage, and you could build these too. They sell them, and I'll provide a couple links below. There's some some grounding sheets you could buy, some grounded pads you could buy. I don't know if I'm gonna put all these in there, but I would say grounding sheets $100, so you might want that. Just make sure. What I would do is you could buy the grounding sheet. Just don't plug it into the outlet they want you to. Just get a wire, run it out your window, and pound a little small ground rod out in your front yard, and then run it up. I know it might look funny, but when you get to bed, it'll decharge you. And you know what? I have a friend who's an electrical, or he's an engineer, an industrial engineer, and he's in a company. He works in a factory. And when he gets home at night, when he goes to bed, what he just used steel duct tape and just put strips of duct tape on not duct tape, but steel tape, metal tape on his bed, and he hooked it up to a ground rod. He said that at night, he shuts the lights off, and he puts his body on, and he says the whole room lights up. It lights up like a firecracker because his body's decharging, and he says he gets a good night's sleep. So ground your bed, okay? Now, okay, we'll do a couple more. And I do all the stuff when I go out to homes. They just tell you there's 4 types that we talked about, but I already threw in magnetism, and I'm going to throw in microwaves here in a minute, and radiation. Now, there's different kind of radiation, okay? There's your radon, which comes from the ground, and, you got to test that. You can do a Home Depot kit. They sell them for $30. It's usually a 3-4 day test. Check for radon, okay? Radon could be making you sick, okay? Granite countertops, some of them are radioactive. Not many, I've been testing them, but you might want to check your granite countertops. And they do sell kits to test your granite countertops to see if they're radioactive. And, I'll probably do a couple more videos, and break this up, because some of these things are going to take a lot more than just this video. And then you could do your own test too. These are activated canisters. You can't do a radon test instantly. I mean, I have machines that I'll put in houses for 2 hours. I'll tell you what it is. But you really got to test it minimum for 48 to 72 hours. And when you test this, you make sure the windows are closed. And there's a whole bunch of directions. And the cans are fine. They got different types. These are charcoal activated, and they also have continuous monitors. That's an electronic one. This one here, you'd have to hire somebody, a home inspector, to come, or somebody like me that has these gauges. And so, you don't need all these gauges. So I'm going to just tell you a couple things. We'll finish this off. Electric fields, they wear the body down. If you sleep in the bedroom with high electric fields, your sleep may be disturbed, disrupted, and your health may slowly diminish. And there's a ton of stuff on the internet. I'm not a doctor. I'm not getting into all that. But there's a ton of stuff, man. You could, especially young kids, you guys could live a lot longer. Do not get exposed. I told you a bunch of stuff in this video, what you can do. Magnetic fields are the most dangerous. These were the second ones we did. They kill your immune system, okay? And they make you susceptible to illness, chronic illness, okay? Microwaves. Matter of fact, we didn't do the microwaves, but you could buy, if you want to check your microwave, you could probably get one of these for like $40. It's hard to test for microwaves because if they leak, and then you can get one of these microwave testers like $30, or you can get one like I got, $300. And so you shouldn't actually, microwaves are a bad idea anyways. Try not to use your microwave. And by the way, if you turn on your microwave, you're getting hit with like hundreds of milligauss. You're also not getting microwaves, but you're getting electric fields, and you're getting super high magnetic fields. And what does it say here? Magnetic fields are the most dangerous. So when you turn on a microwave, there's no way you could be in the room with it. I've tested hundreds and hundreds of them. You have to actually hide behind a refrigerator, but now you're getting hit with other fields, right? You just turn on your microwave and walk out of the room, man. Do not stay in there, and never, never stop your microwave in the middle of it, because the minute you open that door, you're getting whacked. You're getting whacked. Plus, all the food you put in there gets completely destroyed. The nutrients get damaged by the microwaves. So I use a microwave all the time. I shouldn't be using one because I preach not to use one. But you young kids, you guys are probably smarter than we are. You guys shouldn't use a microwave. All right. So microwave radiation causes brain cancer. Just like if you have your cell phone on your head all day long, don't put that phone next to your head. Put that thing off to the side. Put it on speakerphone, okay? So it weakens your body, all right? Causes problems. And then dirty electricity, DE. That's a big problem, and I've been finding more and more homes that actually have the power company poisoning the entire street with dirty electricity. And it's kind of hard to fight those guys, so you may need to put filters in. Okay, filters in. You got to start off maybe, first clean up your house, right? Get rid of the CFL light bulbs. Get down to the filament type lights. Get rid of the dimmer switches, and clean up your bedroom. Move your bed to the right place where it's nice and clean. Move everything away from your sleeping area, and then shut the power off at night so you're not getting electric fields. Definitely shut off your internet and your smart TVs and all that. So hey, I think I covered a bunch of stuff here. I'm probably gonna break this down to more videos. I'm wondering if there's any other toys I have here to show you, but no, I don't. So you guys, please rate, subscribe. You need to share this, especially to the young kids. You guys, you guys are going to be running this world here, and we screwed it up for you. So, you know what? You got to fix this. Check out my other videos. Please rate, subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll be doing more of these videos. I do a lot of home inspection videos, and so check it out. You guys have a nice day. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for watching.